Hello, welcome back to Beauty Bee, where today we're doing an orange look because I hate it. I guess hate is a strong word, and we're trying to work down from hate to dislike to feel neutral about, maybe somewhere into the positive sentiment category, but for right now, it's definitely not my favorite. And because of that, I've pulled a few products that many of which are orange, into a 5 tries to figure it out, taking 5 items that I just didn't like the first couple times I used them, and then have never put in the effort to figure out how to make them work for me, making a usage project entirely revolving around those. So I decided that today I would bring out a few of those and make a largely orange eye look. I think I'm going to start actually with the shade Topaz from my Profusion Glam palette. Here's just a finger swatch of that. It is orange. I think I'm going to put that on the outer half to 2/3 of my lid. Just using my fingers to apply this. Yeah, that's super orange. I actually did an orange look yesterday that I ended up really liking. I used a matte orange over most of my lid. I put like a yellow in the inner corner, and then I put actually the shade of orange in my transition area. It turned out, I think, really nice, at least for orange. I think that it really did bring out my eye color a bit more, but overall I just felt like it didn't really do a lot for my complexion, though just looking at the eyes it was quite pretty. So that was a really long way of saying that though I liked how it turned out, I don't think it's going to become a new favorite or a new go-to for me. Next up, I want to set up my crease, and for that I think I'm going to use this orange from the Wet n Wild Rosé in the Air palette. I lovingly refer to this as Fogar. None of these shades actually have names. I'm just going to stick that in my crease. I try to keep my eye open when I set up my crease, at least for part of it, just so that I know that I'll be able to see that color when the look is done. I mean, I guess other people will be able to see it when I close my eyes, but you know what? I never get to see my eyes closed during the day. It's kind of an odd quirk of human anatomy, so just keeping my eyes open at least somewhat to make sure my crease is visible. Okay, so we're largely set up. I do think that I'm going to run that same color under my eye, and for that I'm going to use a smudger brush. This one right here. Load up with the same color and just right under the eye. I will say that does definitely make my eyes pop, but at what cost? That was dramatic. Okay, now I am moving on to a bit of yellow because I just want some, and I think I'm going to use this yellow from my Wet n Wild 32 pan palette. This shade is in my Panthers eyeshadows, and I'm going to put that not quite into the inner corner, but I'm going to overlap it over the first half or so and get the actual lid portion that is still bare. That little bit of yellow I feel just makes it so much more wearable for me. So that's where I'm at. I am going to take a little bit of this shimmery white shade. It looks quite cool in the pan, but I find that in a swatch you can start to see a little bit more gold coming off of it. And I'm going to just take that on a little detail brush, assuming that I can find it. This little detail brush, which I did eventually find, and I'm just going to stick that right in the inner corner to brighten things up. Also just going to paint it a little up along this line. I don't know why, but I always like the way that taking my highlight up that direction ends up looking. I do it before I blend out my transition, so it's a little bit, it turns out a little bit softer than it looks right now. I think it looks pretty stark at the moment. And now, speaking of blending out my transition, I have this big fluffy blending brush, and I think I'm going to go into actually this sort of camel shade right here. This is also from that same Wet n Wild Rosé in the Air palette. I'm just tapping into it. I'm sort of bouncing my brush in. I'm going to tap off all the excess because I know that this can actually go pretty deep on me pretty quickly. I think it just contrasts enough with my skin tone that it really shows up more on me than it might on others, because this is such a warm shade and I am very, very cool toned. Which is probably at the root of why most of these shades are in here, because I don't tend to really like oranges. Probably because I feel that they don't look that good on me. Okay, so now I'm going to dip back into that white shade. Right here with a shader brush. I'm going to highlight under the brow. Just because I feel like I blended a little further up than I really wanted to with the orange. Okay. I'm liking where that's at overall. I do think I'm going to add some liner both to my top and my waterline. Always a struggle to find things that are sitting right in front of you. And I will probably disappear to do this because I can never manage to stay in frame, but I will see you back in just a second with my eyeliner. I'm just going to be using this black brown pencil liner from Wet n Wild as well as my mascara on. So I did do the eyeliner, and then I decided that I wanted glitter, to the surprise of probably no one but myself. So I'm just going to take this e.l.f. liquid glitter and I'm just going to dot that right in the inner corner. Yeah, I like that, how that adds just a tiny, tiny bit of sparkle. Okay, so I think that is all of the eyeshadow that I'm going to do. Now for some mascara, I think I'm only going to do top lashes because I just don't feel like bothering with the bottom. I feel like once the quarantine is over, I'm just going to have to look back at all of these pictures and see all the times that I've cut my bangs and see if I have managed to get them to a reasonable length at least once. I always feel like I'm keeping them so long because I've cut them right to my eyebrows usually, and then they just, that little bit of curl in my hair just bounces them straight up, and I feel like I can't get it right. It drives me nuts. Okay, so back on topic. For blush, I'm going to use this pink blush from Tarte. This is Tarte Harmony, and it is in my project pan for this year. I'm also going to mix it with a little bit of the butter bronzer, just literally on the same brush. and put it over my cheeks. I've been finding that this is a good way for me to warm up my blushes a little bit. I also think that I'm going to go into a little bit of this Rose All Day Petal Glow blush, again from that same Physicians Formula palette. Just put that right along my cheekbones. I might end up messing with this a little bit because I do have quite a bit of texture going on my cheeks today. I don't usually, but I don't know what happened, but right along my cheekbones was just rough when I woke up this morning. Still not, awful. In the big scheme of things, it's not worth complaining about, but yeah, that's kind of where I am. Now I'm using this big fan brush. I think I'm just going to dip into a tiny bit of the pressed powder that's in that same palette and just tone that highlight down because that's looking very stripy. Not so stripy on this side, but maybe it's just because of how the light's hitting. I'm just blending over. Okay. That's a little bit better. Still can definitely see some of the sparkle, but as far as lip products, I actually pulled out 3, and I assume I'm going to make some concoction of them. But I think I'm going to use this Milk Makeup lip and cheek tint in Work as my base color. I also have some lip balm on, which might have been ill-advised, but oh well. Over lip balm, I feel like I really need to build that color up to get it to show, but once it's here, I think it looks pretty good. And now I think to top it off, I'm just going to use a little bit of this NYX Soft Matte Lip Cream in Can. I think that this will add a little bit of rosiness and just overall tone down the orange and peach that I have everywhere else. Okay, I think I am done. I ended up using 2 products that were in my 5 tries to figure it out, so very happy with that. And I'm overall pretty happy with how the look turned out. I think that if I were going to do this again, I would probably keep the orange just to the outer half of the lid and extend the yellow a little bit further. I think that would make it work a little bit better for me personally. But overall, I think this is pretty. This is definitely something that I would be willing to wear out and about and would feel good doing. I hope you'll consider checking out the 5 tries to figure it out project. I think that's a pretty fun idea, and I've really been enjoying trying to make some of these items work for me. Please consider subscribing if you haven't, and I am looking forward to next